たの倉庫を借りてもいいですか?
I think I didn't write the concept title for no, right?
Oh, okay, yeah, get rid of that. It's like you're starting to write hiragana no,
Yeah.
and you just stop. That's, yeah, so, note, and karitsu, what should it be for kariru, karimasu, karite, yeah. Kariru, karimasu, so, karite, it's a,
Okay.
yeah, it's a root verb, kariru, right?
Yeah.
Kariru changes to karite. Okay. So, karite mo ii desu ka? Actually, I meant to have each person read their own, so I'll let Dylan read both.
8月の神に食べ物を持ってきてもいいですか?
8月のコミって、
Comiket is a comic market in Tokyo
Okay.
in 8月. Well, there's one in 8月 and there's one in 12月.
Okay.
Mhm.
So they're just like during those particular months?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's twice a year, but I'm referring to the one in 8月.
Okay. 8月のコミに持ってきてもいいですか? Interesting. I didn't know about that market, so. いいですね。じゃあ、
指示を書いてもいいですか?
書いてもいいですか? 書いて is from kaku, to write.
Maybe I
Oh.
conjugated it wrong or something.
Okay, 聞いてもいいですか? So your base needs to be, because it's for kiku, right? To listen. Kaku would be to
Yeah.
write.
Yeah, I made a mistake in my work.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, that was, yeah, so, CD を聞いてもいいですか? Yeah, and I just got a CD, that works. じゃあ、これは?
電車を乗ってもいいですか?
Ah, instead of all, what do you use?
Maybe
No.
Need, yes, you use need. 電車に乗ってもいいですか? So, I board the train. Right, that works. Okay.
テレビを聞いてもいいですか?
はい。テレビを見てもいいですか? I just squeeze that head. Yes. Okay, and this last one.
ラーメンを食べてもいいですか?
はい。いいですね. And try to remember to use the kanji from now on for that. Any kanji that we've covered thus far, I want you to try to use it whenever it occurs. So we try to use that for the top. Okay. So no takers for Japanese 3 this summer probably, huh? I'm trying to figure out if there are going to be enough people who want Japanese 3 this summer,
I'll do it.
as opposed to in the fall. So a couple of people saying maybe summer, but fall would work better for them.
Summer would work better for me.
Oh, really?
It could always still fresh, I don't have an
Yeah.
entire summer without it.
Yeah. Yeah, one person was saying maybe take Japanese 2 this summer, just retake it just to keep it fresh, but take 3 in the fall. So that's actually a pretty good idea, because if you're having any difficulty with any of the concepts in 2, taking it again just solidifies it all for you, makes it really strong, and then when you go on to 3, you're more ready for it. So, yeah, I don't know if you'd want to do that or not, but...
Maybe, yeah. Depends on how I do this semester, I guess.
Right, yeah. So, but they're asking me now for my schedule for the summer. So I have to decide, am I gonna offer Japanese food this summer or not? So, okay. Okay, so, any questions about,
I was wondering if you have thought about offering Chinese classes as well, or?
I'm working toward that. The problem we have right now is that the only course in existence for this college is Chinese 1, and most people would want at least 2 semesters of it. So I need to at least get Chinese 2 created before it makes any sense. The last time I tried to offer Chinese 1, when people knew that there was no Chinese 2 available, I didn't get enough to make the course. And the thing is, right, the holdup right now is the college has kind of put a hold on creating any new courses until some of the old ones get rewritten and updated. So I'm actually working on the course rewrites for all 4 Japanese courses and Chinese 1. Once I finish those and get them approved, then hopefully they'll let me go on and create Chinese 2, 3, and 4. But until I've done that, they won't even consider it. And it takes a long time. It's a lot of work to do, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm not just sitting around with nothing else to do, you know?
Yeah.
So, okay, let's do a quick run through of some vocabulary. What I did is I separated out the ones that we had decided you guys knew fairly well, and just put together the ones that were a little rough. So let's start from these. Okay, good now, or? Later, okay. Which way? Good?
Teach.
This way? This way still,
Spark.
okay. Nice.
Just use it.
Yeah. Okay, see, that's one of the good things about doing the warm-up activity
Oh, yeah.
is gets you using some of the stuff. Okay, so kariru, karite, which way? Okay. Kariru,
To enter.
to enter, which way? Not sure, so, yeah, if you're not sure, we'll put it over here. Let's go
To use.
use. Kind of iffy. Okay, hold on a second, I need to find a tissue. There's one. Sorry. It's cold weather doesn't do everybody, right? Okay, so,
That's-
to return something, right? So, rough still. Nobody knows it, so.
Sounds familiar.
Baggage.
Baggage, yes,
Oh,
nimotsu, luggage, baggage, nimotsu.
Bath.
Ofuro is bath, bath. Yeah, good. I just thought of a nimotsu mnemonic. The motsu part is from mochimasu, right, to carry. Ni, you could think of having 2 bags, one in each hand. Nimotsu, carrying 2 bags. How's that
And then
sound?
E kind of looks like
Just
a,
spell it from that way. No.
like a bag.
Yeah, it kind of looks,
Sideways,
it's kind of got the
like a
shape of a suitcase to it, right?
In that font. Just
Yeah,
kidding.
right. So, nimotsu, there you go.
Exit.
Exit. Everybody okay on that one now, or? Yeah?
Oh, to exit, yeah. It's just late.
Late, osoku narimasu, yeah, be late. Osoku.
Arcade. Shimeru, to close.
Right.
Shimenasu.
Okay, and shimeru? If he's still, okay.
Help.
To help. Yeah.
Yes, to help, so,
Hope I know that one.
okay, good or not good? To sit, right, suaru, okay? Or sora, good? Misogu is, you,
I was right. Oh, to play.
no,
Oh.
somebody
It's
said
to
to hurry.
hurry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think no. It's
I heard it,
Yeah.
and I couldn't tell who was saying which.
And I was like, I think you're in the wrong.
Yeah, isogu is to hurry. Okay.
Keshimasu.
Okay.
To erase.
To erase.
I was like,
and-
Keshigomu.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Keshigomu, that's a way to remember it if you know that word.
Actually, the word sounds so funny and it's like fun to say.
Yeah.
Like I literally got into my car the other day and I was like, Keshigomu. I was like, I don't know why it was in my head until that
I
word.
want to erase something.
Okay, so kesu is to erase, and it also can be to extinguish, as in denkyo
Oh,
kesu.
erase? I forgot. I thought it was race. For a
Erase.
second. I thought you were saying race. Okay.
Erase.
Yeah, I thought that for a second.
Yeah, so it can be like
Okay.
kokuban keshi is a board eraser, you know, keshimasu to erase the board, but it can also be denkyo kesu. Denkyo keshimasu to erase,
The
to
electricity.
turn out the
Erase the
light.
lights.
Yeah, erase the light, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Extinguish the light.
it comes from when it was just candles and lanterns. And so it's actually, the original meaning is to extinguish like a flame. Like rosoku kesu, you know, to put out a candle. So, and then, you know, the other meanings sort of branched off of
The
that.
concepts. And
Yeah. Yeah, so, what do you want?
That would be fine.
I-
Or
That's fine.
that wouldn't be necessary.
Right. Alright, so, yeah, that's fine, or don't worry about it. It can be in the sense of, I'm fine, I don't need any more, or it can be fine as in, sure, go ahead, I'm giving permission. Keiko desu. Okay, so, still a rough one, right?
Really?
Really?
Right, keiko desu ka? Is that one familiar to people? Yeah, that one, if you watch any anime ever, you've probably heard it.
Sugu.
Right away.
Right away.
Yep.
Immediately. Do desu ka? Rough? Right? Yeah, that's a way to remember it if you know that word, wasuremono, because wasureru, you drop the ru, add mono, and it becomes an item that was forgotten.
A lost
You know,
thing.
a lost thing or a forgotten thing, so wasuremono. You know, like, you know,
What does that mean?
the lost and found would be full of wasuremono. You know, this is wasureru, to forget.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, you leave something behind, you forgot it, so it's wasuremono. So it's the same mono from tabemono, nomimono. Mono is one of those useful little words that gets into a lot of compounds, but wasureru, I think some people are still wasureteimasu.
Together.
Ooh, that means to turn, wait.
Yeah. It's the
Turn
opposite of
on.
kesu when it relates to denki, right? Keshimasu is turn it off, tsukenasu is turn it on. Tsukeru also applies to things like computers and, you know, anything that's got like an on switch.
Does it apply to cars when you turn the keys?
I don't know. I never heard it used that way. But
Or you start the
generally,
Yeah,
car,
it
okay, yeah.
does.
it's good. So, still rough.
Yeah,
Is
they're
it?
rough.
Yeah, I don't get it
Tatsu itachimasu.
Tatsu itachimasu. To stand, yes. And once again, it's one of the many that takes mono to make a noun out of it, tate mono, with the te form of tatsu. Tatemono is actually an item that's been stood up on end, by extension, a building. So tatemono is actually like a building, like a high-rise or, any building. So tatemono. And they also use yoko and tate to refer to styles of script. So yoko is sideways, so English style writing is yokogaki, and tategaki is writing vertically.
Standing up.
Yeah, standing up. So, isn't that interesting? So, and they will refer to those, because certain kinds of publications tend to be tate, and then other publications tend to be yoko. And sometimes for an assignment, students will ask, does it need to be tate or yoko? So, tatsu, tachimasu, to stand. Right, well, the bath. And it's literally enter the bath, because in Japan, ofuro is not just the tub, it's the whole room with the shower area and the tub area all included in one concept. So, ofuro ni haeru doesn't just mean that you're actually getting into the tub full of hot water. It can just mean going into the shower room and taking your shower and foregoing the soaking part if you choose. So, when your host mom calls you because it's time for ofuro, doesn't mean you're required to get in the hot water in the tub. You could just shower, if that's all you want to do.
Next year.
Next what? Year, yeah. Nen is year. Remember, ichinensei, same nen. First year student, remember that? Ichinensei, ninensei. So dainen is next year. Still rough?
Next week.
That one's next week, yeah. Raishu, and this is the same shu that's in like konshu, raishu, shumatsu. Shumatsu is literally weekend. Yeah,
That's what they say.
yeah.
Not a verb.
Thanks. Voter is night. Good? Okay.
Shinryoin.
Municipal hospital?
Hi, Shinryoin.
Hospital or?
Hospital, municipal
Municipal
hospital.
hospital.
Yeah. If you wanna say just city hospital, that's okay too.
Because Google translates it.
Good one or pretty good?
Fine with it.
Sure.
Kyokusho. Oh, kyokusho.
Textbook, hi, Kyokusho. Okay, I'm getting some funny looks on that one still. Grandmother, grandma. I think everybody knows that one now, all right?
Yeah.
Obasan. Be careful of your spelling and pronunciation, because if you leave out this a, what does it turn into? Obasan
And
is aunt, as in
Aunt.
parent's sister, aunt, yeah, and not the little crawly thing.
Couldn't you then also tell your aunt old?
Well,
Yeah,
no,
it's a-
Obasan is mother or father's sister. Oba-san is mother or father's mother. There's a whole generation difference between Oba-san and Oba-san. So that's one of those times when the extended vowel makes a huge world of difference, right? They also both get used for people who aren't necessarily family
yeah,
members.
that part's kind of.
Oba-san means middle-aged woman. Oba-san means elderly woman.
Yeah, so if you hold it.
Yeah,
it
people
becomes
do that
one old.
in
Yeah.
English, but it's
So,
very old fashioned.
What's also interesting though is younger people, because they think of Oba-san as meaning middle-aged woman, even if someone is technically an aunt because she's a sibling of someone who has a child. She doesn't necessarily want to be called Obasan if she's still like in her 20s. Because to her, that sounds old. So even though technically she is that child's aunt, calling her Obasan might feel like you're saying she's old. You know, so, because the slang usage of Obasan is middle-aged woman. So no woman in her 20s wants to be called that. Money. Right. Okay, so those are some that we can kind of put to one side to be probably left for another. These are the ones that we practice. Oh, look, the stack is getting shorter, so that's good. Gohun?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Do we need to practice that one more, or is that one pretty rough? Practice more. Okay. Sensei. Practice more, or you know it?
It's just recognizing it.
Recognizing the
name.
kanji is the trick with these, right? And we probably ought to take some time to actually practice writing them too, not just leave it till the very end of the chapter. Say.
Something.
We know it's north.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, kitaguchi. So what's a way to remember kita as north?
If you're trying to see K in it.
Okay,
Not
okay.
really.
Well, how can you
Pretend
identify
it's a
with
thing of peas. I don't know.
okay.
No.
I don't have a good mnemonic for the pronunciation for you, it's just practice maybe, kitaguchi. Just say it a couple times, kitaguchi, kitaguchi, kitaguchi. Hi, deguchi, deguchi. It's an exit, just in general. Because remember, this kanji is deru, to exit, and kuchi is a mouth, and by extension, an opening. So an opening through which you are able to exit is a deguchi.
So like on and off the highway, for example?
Yeah, highway exit, and also doors that have like exit written on them, deguchi.
Okay.
You know how sometimes there'll be 2 doors in and out of a building, and one will be labeled entrance and one will be labeled exit, and they kind of don't want you to go out the wrong door so that they keep traffic flowing. So deguchi would be the label in Japanese on the exit door, as opposed to the entrance door. Also, any place that has an emergency exit sign, there are 2 kanji that mean emergency, and then the other 2 kanji of that compound would be deguchi. And so any place that has emergency exit on the sign would be a 4 kanji compound. And they look exactly like the ones here, backlit, with a glow-in-the-dark kind of light, just, kanji instead of English. So, deguchi. Migi, yes. And I thought of another way to help people remember. This might not work as well for lefties, but if you're right-handed, when you do paper, rock, scissors, you do it like this, right? Jan, ken, pon, ai, ko, sho. Like that, right? And they always do right hand fist, left hand palm. And if you look at the kanji, the right hand is like a fist, right? And the left hand is like a palm. You can see the lines in the palm. The katakana thing looks like the lines on a palm, right? So that's a way to remember right and left. Because in Japan, I think pretty much everybody does it this way, even if they're left-handed. Okay, so right is pronounced migi, hidari. We'll keep those in the practice rotation for a little longer. Nishi, nishi. It does end with shi, so it's a way to remember it, but it's got that extra line on top, so it's nishi. Nishi. West, yes. Nishi is west. Bless you. So if you think about that extra line kind of representing the ni, and the bottom line representing the shi, for ichi, ni, san, shi, then that might be a way to remember Nishi. And it means west. And if you start from the north, which is kind of a typical place to start for a lot of people, and you go around this way to count, Nishi becomes the fourth direction, right? Yep, east, and it's pronounced higashi, higashi,
Oh, okay.
higashi.
So-
I don't have a good mnemonic for that pronunciation, unfortunately. Anybody have any ideas for higashi?
If you lived in like, say, the plains, and you could see the Appalachian Mountains, you can see the sun going over the Appalachian Mountains, so you get heat, which looks like a mountain.
Oh, okay.
It's really complicated to remember.
Yeah, if it works for you, great.
They use that in the. Have anyone ever seen Eden of the East in anime? They use Higashi no Eden.
Okay, higashi, okay, that
Just
works.
picturing a guy and naming him Higashi.
Okay. Higashi, okay. I don't know anybody named Higashi, but hey, whatever works.
Just name that picture. That's why they're broken.
Yeah, and this one is
Minami.
Minami, and it's south. Yeah, Minami. It's got me twice in it, I don't know if that helps anything. Mi-na-mi, Minami. Yeah, it means south. Kita, yeah, there you go, kita. Okay, and it means north.
I know what it's
Outside of
Not saying the word.
Yeah. Yeah,
Is it good? No.
Gaijin would be just
That-
those
yeah,
two.
I know that that's the defensive one.
Gaikokujin.
Gaikokujin, oh.
There you go, Gai Kokujin. Yeah, so it helps if you know that this is koku in other compounds too, like Kankoku, Korea, it's this koku. Because this koku means country. It can also mean like a region of a country in some cases. So for example, Shikoku is the smallest of the four main islands of Japan, and it's this koku. It's actually 4 countries, Shikoku. That's how they write that kanji. It's on your maps if you're looking at that in your textbook, Shikoku.
Number 4 country?
Yeah, maybe because it's the 4th island, I don't know.
Yes,
Or
smallest
maybe,
one.
you know, I don't know for sure, but at least historically, Shikoku might have been divided into 4 regions, like 4 prefectures or whatever. I don't know if it still is, but maybe historically there were like 4 different political entities on that island. You know, because in ancient Japan, you know, really ancient Japan, it was a tribal culture. And so there were lots of different little kuni, little countries scattered throughout Japan, and then over time, those got consolidated and conquered until they all became one nation. But Japan was not unified for a long time. So maybe Shikoku is because there used to be 4 little individual tribal kingdoms.
Well, there's
on
4
that island.
prefectures right now.
What's that?
There's 4 prefectures right
Yeah,
now.
so maybe
4
those
regions.
4 prefectures correspond to 4 historic kingdoms that existed before Japan was unified. You know, because in the very earliest historical documents we have about Japan were by Chinese scholars who traveled to Japan as explorers and wrote down their observations of the primitive barbarians of the country of the dwarves. Yeah, they actually called them that.
Yeah.
Aw.
I just recently watched, there's a really
Yeah.
funny video that was trending for the past
Yeah.
couple days, and it's a history of Japan.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't,
Oh, but it's really funny how they
yeah.
do like a little personification of the countries, and it's like,
Okay.
China, could you stop calling me
A
dwarves? Yeah.
Because, you know, just in terms of like the ethnicities, Chinese people tend to be taller than Japanese people.
Isn't it like wa or something?
Yeah, wa.
Yeah.
So the Chinese word they used was wa, which the Japanese changed and used different kanji for the same pronunciation to mean peace and harmony. And they took that on as, okay, we'll call ourselves this wa, because we don't want to be called the country of the dwarves.
Okay.
But to this day, the wa that means peace and harmony is one of the single kanji abbreviations for the concept of Japan. And like washoku means Japanese cuisine. And, washiki is Japanese handmade paper. And, there are all these different terms for traditional Japanese things that have the term wa in them. But Japan chose a different kanji for wa than the one the Chinese originally labeled them with. So anyway, so getting back to koku, so gai koku jin is the reading for this. And I don't know if I remember to point this out to your class or only the other class, but this connection is just a font style thing. This should look like katakana ta next to katakana to. And they should not connect in the center. They should be very close to one another. And each, skinny so that they fit together in the same size box as any other kanji. But they shouldn't actually
Yeah, in the book,
touch like
yeah,
that.
in the book they're separated.
Yeah, in the book they're separated. That's a more common font. This is kind of a weird font, but it lets it cut through that much. It's not supposed to cut through when you're handwriting it.
Good enough.
So is gaijin just like a slang
Yeah,
abbreviation?
gaijin is a short version of this. Gaikokujin is considered more polite. Gaijin is considered both slangier and ruder.
So they called my dad when he was over there for
Yeah.
the Navy.
Yeah, well, most people, honestly, it's like saying foreigner versus saying international student. International student takes a lot more effort to say, it's politer, it's more PC, but how many people do you know who are not that worried about PC and they just say, oh yeah, he's a foreign student, right? So it's kind of the same thing. Not everybody cares that much about being polite to the gaijin.
The best part is my dad didn't realize the
Right.
connotation behind it, and
Yeah.
he was like telling me, yeah, I called me this, and it was real nice, and I was like,
Yeah, well, and some people try to pretty it up by adding san, so they'll call you gaijin-san instead of gaikokujin.
Mr. Foreigner.
Yeah.
Were you the one who told us the story about the movie where or something about the foreigner who was in China or something? They called him outsider, and then he's like outsider's son because he thought that they weren't respecting him.
Oh, there's a movie
Yeah.
set in Japan where they were calling him pilot because he was the pilot of the ship. He was part of a group that was shipwrecked in Japan in the movie Shogun.
oh yeah.
And
I was
so they were calling him Anjin, which means pilot, and he made them add san. He insisted Anjin-san until they started calling him Anjin-san because he wanted to be granted that level of respect. And it's one of those things where once people start calling you that, they start to treat you that way because of the psychology of it. Once you
It's a really
start
good show.
calling somebody by a respectful term, you start giving them that respect that you associate with that term. So it kind of works for them. But that is, it's a historical fiction novel, but it's based off of a legend that people think that there's actually some truth to the basic story, which was that there was a British ship that got shipwrecked off the coast of Japan, and there were some survivors who made it to land at a time when, other than that one ship, the only Europeans in Japan at the time were the Spanish and the Portuguese. And there was a lot of political competition between the Spanish and the Portuguese who was going to get control of Japan. The British and Dutch weren't even in the equation yet. And this one ship with some stolen charts from a Spanish ship that they captured or something managed to find their way to Japan and then got shipwrecked right off the coast, and some of them survived and made it into Japan, and they believe that at least one of those survivors actually did start to learn some Japanese and kind of make his way through the culture to some degree and become somewhat known, and that's what that whole novel Shogun is based upon. But it was a very interesting time politically. It was a time of upheaval because the Spanish and the Portuguese were trying to influence the Japanese succession and trying to get themselves infiltrated into the point where they could convert and colonize. And the Japanese decided, no, we're not going to let that happen. And they, soon after that, kicked them all out of the country and persecuted every last Christian they could get their hands on.
I like that scene where like he doesn't want to go in the bath because it's like, I guess part of the European culture was like bathing was a thing that could get you sick.
Yeah,
Or something like
yeah,
that?
they believe, this was late 15, early 1600s, people believed that bathing could kill you in Europe.
They also
Yeah,
believe
it was
sleeping.
dangerous.
And like, when they insisted, like you need to bathe. It's like,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so what are you trying to do to me here? And they're like, you stink, you're getting in this tub.
Yeah. There's so many cool cultural things.
Yeah.
Like, he hung up like the dead bird and
Yeah.
just I don't know, it was
Yeah.
really cool to watch.
Yeah, it's an interesting, movie. It's actually, it was a mini-series.
Yeah, it's just the miniseries I watched.
Yeah, and then they did a slightly condensed version of it, which became a very long movie, still long. But it was all based off of a novel that was also a very long novel. It's over 1,000 pages in paperback.
Gimli from Lord of the Rings actor is in it.
Oh,
Yeah, he's in the miniseries. He's one of the Spanish.
I don't remember
He's
that.
a really big dude, like a really tall big dude, and it's funny because he plays a dwarf. But
Yeah, well, they did CG for the size differentials.
yeah, he actually his double got because they all had tattoos of like other time like all the main cast
Yeah.
got tattoos, and his stunt double is the one that got tattooed, not him, because he was hardly physically ever in it. It was a lot of just him talking and his face up close. But
Interesting. I'll have to rewatch that.
10分
It is
10
10
minutes.
minutes. Do we need to keep practicing that one, or is that one okay?
It's just because of Poon. It's just,
Yeah, so keep practicing it.
That's,
Practicing it.
Minami
Minami Gucci,
Hi, Minamiguchi.
Nishiguchi.
Nishiguchi, yeah. Think in terms of like 2-4, Nishi.
So there's two kanji, and
Yeah.
it's the fourth.
Yeah, Nishiguchi. College, hi. Hi. Large, yeah. Hi, Higashi. Better. Exit, hi. Gaikoku. So without the
Foreign
gene, it's
country.
just Gaikoku, foreign country. Yeah.
Shugoku, China.
China, yes. Shugoku, Middle Kingdom. Yeah, okay, so we'll keep practicing those. Before I forget, you guys wanna just do a little bit of kanji practice on some of these? Okay, so, you guys, there's room, you can all come up here together. Okay, so let's see, in terms of I'm just gonna kind of go down the list of what's here in order. So let's start by practicing higashi, which is a little bit counterintuitive. You start from the ichi, and then you do the michi, the sun. Okay? Remember, you do the inside before you close the bottom when you do sun. And then you do the line that comes through, the vertical, and then you do the left and the right diagonals. So, ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, roku, shihachi. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. When I slow it down, I have to think back too hard. I'm used to writing it fast.
I like the fact that they have names the
Yeah.
yes.
That's higashi. Okay, and then as long as we're doing it, might as well do the compound. So higashi guchi would be higashi, and then the kuchi is just like writing katakana ro. Higashi guchi. And the trick for both of these is you want to remember that if you were writing this in like Japanese box paper, each character takes up the same size box. So when you've got a small kanji like kuchi, you can write it larger scale. When you've got a more complex kanji like higashi, you have to condense it some to make it fit. Stroke order, Sierra.
Yeah.
Ichi, ni, san, shi, go. No, close it before you do the vertical.
Okay.
Yeah. So see this, that much first, and then the vertical. Yes, like that, and then like that. Yes. And try to make sure that the two diagonals are slightly shorter than the middle, but not too much shorter. You don't want it to be too big of a contrast. So this could be a tad shorter like that. See how they. There, that's better. You want the proportions to be nice. You guys see. Good? Okay. So, and then of course, we haven't learned the Kyo kanji yet, but Kyo is literally Eastern capital, and it uses the same kanji as Higashi. Higashi means east. The onyomi reading for it is To. So Tokyo is actually this To. It's also this To and Kita together make Tohoku, which is the northeastern region of Japan. Yeah, Tohoku, like that.
The first kanji I ever
Ah, Tohoku. Okay, so are we ready to try Nishi next?
Yeah.
Okay. So Nishi, again, you write the first horizontal like an ichi, okay? And then you start the box underneath, and then you do the two curved lines that go on the inside, and then you close it last. Okay, so ichi, ni, san, shi, go, and then roku.
So for the curved lines, like one has to be like
Yeah, the first,
writing.
the one that goes left, the the one that curves left is just like kind of like a katakana no. It's got a gentle curve to it. The one that goes right has a sharper bend. It's not like a right angle exactly, but it's like a softened right angle. It shouldn't be like a sharp corner, but it's not a sharp corner, but it's a rounded right angle, sort of. Yeah, yeah, pie, there you go.
Kind of.
It kind of looks like the yeah,
so
pie from math. Yeah. Not the pie from Publix, the pie from math.
What's the difference?
Oh,
I always wondered if it was a coincidence or not that the bakery pie is also round. You know?
Yeah.
maybe she was thinking about pie when she named it.
Anyway, I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if it actually
I
is
think it's
named
a
that way.
Maybe he really just wanted pie. He was tired of math, he just wanted pie.
Right. Okay, so Nishi, same deal, Nishiguchi, you know, you write the Nishi part and then the Gucci part. That's sloppy, but, okay. Okay. And if you, the onyomi reading are either sei or sai. So, for example, hokusei is the north or northwest of a country or something, and then Kansai is the Kansai region, which is considered the western portion of Japan. It's like the Osaka, Kyoto, Nara, Kobe, Himeji. That whole region is called Kansai, and Kansai Ben is the dialect spoken in that part of the country. Ben means dialect, basically, so Kansai Ben. Okay, and then Seiyo is the West, as in, you know, the Western world, you know, Europe and America. Seiyo. Okay, so Minami is next. Okay, so this top part is a little bit, when you're handwriting it, it's a little bit like a katakana na. It has a little bit of a slant. The vertical isn't straight vertical when you handwrite it. It's got a little bit of a diagonal shape to it. And then you do the bottom half, which comes out better when I write it faster. It's like the top and sides of the box, but it's open on the bottom. And then on the inside, you write two little diagonals, left and right, like that. And then like a katakana ni under that. And then the vertical line, which does not cut through. Okay, so it's important to note that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 like that, but it doesn't cut through the top.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So that's Minami. So this one it can touch, but it shouldn't cut through.
Can this ever be used for someone's name?
Yeah, Minami can be a surname. Minami-san, you know, could be a family name. I don't know of it ever being used in a given name in Japanese. I don't know of anybody who has it as a given name. Okay, so that's Minami, and of course Minamiguchi, same deal as the other direction exits. You know, knowing your 4 directions in Japanese comes in really handy for getting around in Japan because of all the subway stations and train stations that have these kinds of labels for their exits. You know, a lot of train stations have the cardinal directions as exit labels, so Minamiguchi. And then again, Nan is the onyomi, so you've got, like, Nanto is the southeastern region of some place. Nankyoku is Antarctica, South Pole, Nankyoku. And then Tonan Asia would be Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Thailand, that whole region. And then Nanbe is South America. Minami America is one way to do that, but you can also do Nanbe. This Nan, and then the Bei from Beikoku, this kanji, is used to mean America. So Nanbe would be South America. But Beikoku with this Koku kanji, these two are the kanji for America.
In the book, it looks more straight.
Yeah, that's a print font. Yeah, the print font often straightens things out that are curved in handwriting and vice versa.
Well, it looks like down the text. I don't know.
Get used to these kinds of differences where there's a difference between the print font and the handwritten style, because it's going to keep coming up.
Is that how you write Chinese, American Chinese?
No, they actually use a different
Something
kanji.
really different. All right.
Yeah, they use this one. Well, and actually, yeah.
No, not even that.
This would be traditional Chinese, and then this would be simplified Chinese. Yeah. Yeah, Japanese uses a mixture. Some of the characters they use are the traditional form, even though mainland China uses a simplified version of it. And then some of them they use the simplified form, even though Taiwan uses a traditional version of it. So Japan is a sort of hybrid, some traditional,
they've been
some
doing their own thing for a
simplified.
while.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at Hoku, which is also sometimes Hoku, which is also Kita. So Kita is that. Let's see. And they actually, yeah, they do it that order. So,
I was thinking this yesterday, I didn't know which direction these little
yeah,
notches were going.
Ichi, Mi, San, Shi, Go. So the right-hand side of Kita looks like katakana Hi, right? But the left-hand side, it's this line first, then the vertical, then the bottom line. And it kind of looks like two stick figure people back to back with each other.
In print, I see it like that sometimes.
Except you're
Yeah.
supposed to go this way and then like that.
Yeah, yeah, ichi, ni, san, shi, go. So you got inside, ichi, ni, san, shi, go. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, this is a print font, having it stick down that way. Yeah, the handwritten form, normally these two come to more of a point. That's kita. And you'll notice that in all of the compounds, like northwest, southeast, etc., they do the opposite order that we do. So we say northeast, they say Tohoku, which is east-north. All of them are like that. And when we do like north, south, east, west, when we talk about the four directions, the order Japanese usually pronounces it is wait a minute. Yeah, it's east, west, and south, north. That's the order they normally do. East, west, south, north. Yeah, so any questions about how to write Tohoku or Kita or Kitaguchi or any of the direction words? Okay, let's look at deru. Okay, so, and their stroke order is a little different from the one I remember learning, but we'll do it their way. So it's the vertical first,
Yeah.
and then the cross piece, and then the bottom one, and that. So this is one, this is two going around the corner, and then this is a third stroke here, and then 4 going around the corner again, and 5. Okay, so that's deru and teguchi. Okay, migi and hidari both start off with something like a katakana na, and then you either put a ro underneath or a katakana e. Migi and hidari. Yep. Okay. Okay, the hun for 1分、2分、3分、4分.
I wrote them on my hand yesterday.
Yeah.
So this one, you write like a hachi on the top, hachi on the top, and then the bottom part is kind of like a katakana ka, except that it doesn't cut through. Okay?
Oh, it doesn't.
It does not. Okay, so hachi, and then what's underneath is actually katana, knife, sword.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a reason for that. That broken line on the top represents something that just got cut by this knife. Okay, so
So it's
if you look at it, it's about dividing, right? So you're dividing up your time into minutes. Okay, and so the basic meaning of this hun is actually division. You know, and it's represented by this knife that just broke this line. You just cut the line with your knife. You see that? And in addition to minutes, it gets used in a bunch of other expressions, including things like kahun, which is pollen, broken up little bits of what makes flowers, you know, and it's in like flour, as in baking flour, because it's broken up little bits of wheat or rice or whatever grain. It's also used in jibun, oneself, breaking yourself apart from the group. You know, it's in the phrase wakaru, to understand. Wakeru, to divide. It can be used in phrases that have to do with breaking up, like breaking up a relationship. It's in a lot of different idioms.
Break eye contact? Would that
I don't know about that, but
Okay.
I know that it's in like the verb that means like to leave, to separate, like as in, you know, getting apart from a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. Yeah. So it's an interesting one. It means separate in many different ways.
Like that?
Yeah, wakaru. Yeah, and you just change this ka to ke. Wakeru means to divide. Wakaru, to understand. Which, if you think about it, if you understand something, you can break it down into its component parts.
That's one way, yeah.
You know? Okay, so let's look at sensei, since everybody was worried about that one a little bit. So the sen is also read as saki, or saki or sen. So it means ahead of, or in front of, or before, or first. It's got that kind of a meaning. And if you look at the breakdown of it, it's got a diagonal, and then you've got like the soil, but make sure you get that little diagonal piece on the top horizontal line. And then the soil connects to that, and then you've got like legs underneath, right?
Looks like roots. kind of.
So it's like roots, yeah, because the roots come first, under the soil, right? And maybe this other little piece is like a little sprout that's coming up, the first part of the plant. Okay, so
It's like
you-
I can recognize it, it's just remembering.
okay, and then the second part starts off like the same. The first two strokes are the same, but then you do a longer vertical and the two cross pieces with the bottom one flat so that it doesn't cut through. Okay, so that's the sei part, which is in sensei, gakusei, ichinensei, etc. Okay, so sen and sei. And this sei is also umareru, to be born,
Yeah.
to give birth to.
That's
It's the sho in Issho Kenmei, or Issho ni Ichiro, once in a lifetime. So it's life as well as to be born. Okay, so the sensei compound is like one who was born first. So therefore older and wiser than me, you know, that kind of concept.
Goes to like the elder concept.
Yeah,
Of
so,
always being
yeah,
natural.
because if you think about, you know, like Confucian values and, you know, the underpinnings of East Asian cultures, respect for elders is so central to the belief system. So one who was born before is older and wiser and deserves respect, and that's why sensei is a term of respect. Okay, so that's, and I don't have a good mnemonic for breakdown of the sei kanji, unfortunately. Let's kind of get used to them. Okay, and then of course, oki, the dai in daigaku, is nice and easy. You do the horizontal first and then put a ren, a hito, sorry, that's Chinese. You put a hito through the middle of it. So that's the o in oki, and it's also dai in daigaku, right? And it looks exactly like what it means. It looks like a stick figure of a person saying it's this big, right? Yeah. Just think about when you were like 5 years old trying to describe how huge something was. And the best you could do if you're describing like a dinosaur or something was spread your legs, spread your arms, and say, it was this big, right? And that's the shape of oki.
What was the other
What's-
word for it?
Dai, as in daigaku. So it's red dye,
I spelled it wrong.
ohenna.
No, Thailand, isn't it?
Tai has a dot in it.
Oh, that's good, because that confused me.
Yeah, yeah, Tai has an extra dot.
I see.
Yeah. So oki or dai, and then gaku is an interesting one to write. It's got 3 little strokes on top, and then it's got this piece that's like a roof, and then it's got child underneath.
It looks like his brain is like.
Yeah, so it could be like a child under a roof having like a light bulb moment, like shining bright. That's,
Or a big brain.
or big brain, and, you know. This, of course, is one of the simplified ones, the original is rather more complex. It's still got the child underneath, but the original one looked like that.
That's
Yeah,
That
and
one's-
I believe this represented the two hands, and the X's, I think, I don't remember what the X's originally
It
represented.
looked like his brain's hurting, like it's huge.
Yeah,
It looks so gross.
Yeah, it looks weird, I mean,
yeah.
It looks
I-
like Mojo Jojo.
And is that one not used anymore, like
This one is not-
Chinese or Japanese?
This one is used in Taiwan and other places that still use traditional characters. Japan has done away with it, but if you read some of the older authors who were educated pre-World War II, some of their publications still insist on using the old characters, especially if its original printing was before they converted to the traditional one, to the simplified ones rather, that you might still see the occasional short story or novel or something that has this stuff in it. And if you go trying to read classical stuff, then for sure it's gonna turn up.
Yeah.
It's good to recognize it,
Yeah.
but you don't really need it that much for modern Japanese. Yeah. I learned traditional first when I first started learning Chinese, so that is comfortable for me still. I learned Japanese independent of Chinese at first, and so at the very beginning, I didn't even know that those two were the same thing. And then when I started learning, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's 10:40.
Oh, it's time, oh no, okay, we didn't get to any of our conversation stuff today, so we'll have to do that next time.
That was really dark.
But it was good to spend
Oh, no,
some
the
time on
kanji.
kanji practice.
Yeah, I
like
We
doing
didn't
this.
get to the gai or the koku, but we got to all the other ones, so.
This really,
That was good.
yeah.
I like this, it helps.
Okay, good. Okay, so keep practicing all of this on your own, and definitely continue working on your kanji and also working on your conversation stuff, and we will do more conversational stuff